Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone. Today, Chris and I have a special guest on with us, Andrew Morgans from Marknology, which is an Amazon brand accelerator. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be good. We're excited to have you.
Yeah. Well, also, we have a fellow Kansas Cityan on the show.
That's right.
Nice.
Fair enough. So much so that I was like, are you guys wearing St. Louis red or what's going on?
No.
Playoff season now. Like, I don't mind when it's not go time, but right now, it's everything. Every superstition matters right now. So
That's right. That's right. Yeah, sometimes we'll have people on not from Kansas City, and we have to endure some trash talk a little bit. But it's all good.
It's hard being at the top. It's hard being at the top. Everybody hates you.
It is hard to be at the top right now. Oh man. Well, Andrew, I'm excited to talk to you and learn more about you. Before we get started, why don't you just let everyone know a little bit about your background, sort of how you got into the space, and what you're doing at Marknology.
Well, I'm a little bit of a storyteller, so I'll try to keep it as trimmed up as I can. But I've been in the Amazon space for 9 years. We can kind of start there. I got a degree in computer science from Park University, kind of local here to Kansas City. And I started in networking at MasterCard Global down by the airport here. And I was working in a NOC. I was making more money than I ever had. And I hated my job more than I ever had. And it was my first time in IT using my degree. And there was an interesting part to it. It has some complexities. I'm not hating on the space in general, but I just went from like playing music, traveling across the U.S., going to school, like really creating things, to a role where I was watching things and waiting on stuff to break, and it just wasn't for me. So I kind of swore, I was like, I'm going to try one other job with my IT degree. And if I still hate it, like it felt like this is where IT people go to die. I'll be honest with you. It's like a dark room, no windows. Like, you honestly went through 4 security protocols to get in there. You're in this like dark dungeon room at MasterCard. And I was getting depressed in there. And, I was just like saving money because that's all I was doing, working 412s and just like hated it. And well, I found e-commerce essentially. I finished my 1-year contract there. Took a chance at a startup that was paying me less and no security, really no insurance, things like that. But I was like, man, I got to try something just drastically different. And I fell in love with e-commerce. So that was probably about 9 years ago. That startup, I was employee number 3, and we were putting car parts online. And, I was contacting manufacturers, getting parts lists. We were doing a bit of drop shipping, a bit of private label, a little bit of everything. And I was kind of the only person putting these parts up on eBay and Amazon. And we did over $1 million in sales that first year. It was a crazy, crazy year for me because I was learning everything on the fly. Even my bosses didn't know how to do it. They were just kind of like, we hired you to figure it out. And it was exciting. It was like, you're comboing deals up, putting them on eBay. Your Amazon still wasn't even a big deal then. It was just more like website and eBay. But I was putting product on Amazon and learning why I went. And I actually moved to Tampa for that job. So I was like a little over 1 year in Tampa at that startup. And then I got an opportunity to work at US Toy Company here in Kansas City. So I moved back. And was an e-commerce manager, so a bit of a step up from the startup. We did over $1 million in sales that year as well, and so it was like, man, this e-commerce stuff is exciting. Like when you're, when the company's pumped at what you're doing, wherever you're at, you're like, this job's cool, right? If the boss is like, patting you on the back, it's easy to go to work. But raise time came. It was like I was still in that corporate environment. I was learning a lot at US Toy, but raise time came. I got like a 20-cent raise, and I feel like something inside of me was just like, I can't do this for 20 years. Like even if I'm the best and I climb all the way through, the e-commerce manager ranks at different companies, like this just isn't going to get me to what my passion is. And I want to travel. I love traveling. I love like selling stuff. I love creating things. And in the corporate world, Amazon and e-commerce, it's booming now, but 8 years ago, there was companies that were forward. There was even more than there is today that were like dragging their feet, and I was super passionate about the space. And so I was just like, studying. Essentially, I was trying to make a little more money on the side. I started freelancing. For anyone listening, like I got on the sites Elance and Upwork. If you're trying to get a hustle going, and I essentially pitched myself to companies that needed help on eBay or Amazon. I was like, hey, I'm an e-commerce manager in the daytime, working on some projects at night. I would love to help you with your project, and I just started getting those under my belt. And after a couple, I even worked with Adidas through Upwork. It was crazy. I worked on an Adidas project through Upwork, and my head was just like, I didn't always dream of being an entrepreneur. I was born to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know that at the time. I'll be honest. I didn't even know what the word meant. It wasn't trending to me. It was just side hustles. Like, how do you hustle? How do you get by? I was going through like a bad relationship breakup, and just had a lot of time. I was trying to get myself together and was like just digging into work. Well, I got top 10 in the world on Elance. And when I did that in the marketing category, it was just by doing jobs and getting reviews. It's almost the same algorithm as Amazon, really. But, it was just like moving me to the top ranks. And I share the details because I think some people care about the details and like, how do you get somewhere? It was just a side hustle, and but the light bulb went off in my head when I started working with Adidas. I saw they had this big agency. They were probably paying like, 20, 30K a month in retainer for everything they were doing. I'm not sure, but they needed me for some reason. And I'm like, at this point, I was just like, okay, this is an opportunity. Like, why do they need someone like me? A company this big, this world renowned company needs me to help them on Amazon. It wasn't an ego thing. It was more like, why? It was like, why do they need me? And if you guys, that's a shout out to Adidas for being kind of forward for a big company. You look at Nike on Amazon, you look at Adidas on Amazon. Adidas looks way better.
Way different.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
So, long story short, I started building clients through Upwork. I got like 4 or 5 on the side that I was working with on a monthly basis. They were just like, hey, you want to just continue to work on our Amazon account? I was like, sure. And this wasn't like, Marknology is a brand accelerator. We're an agency now. This was small time compared to like how we work with brands now. It was just like manage the ads, upload some listings. I was charging people like $200 a month to manage their Amazon, putting up like hundreds of products, and there was no one telling anyone what this space was worth, the work that we do. It was just like, well, I could bartend on Saturday night and Sunday night, or I could work on some Amazon stuff. Like, what do you want to do? And so I was kind of loving it. I built that business at US Toy like in my off time. And before I knew it, I had Marknology. Marknology almost is going to turn 7 this year in August. We got a team of 13 now here in Kansas City. We became an Amazon agency partner January 1 of 2020, an advertising partner, much like Solozo, I believe. There we go. I've been working on the website a little bit, so I'm proud to show it off. And, I work with my family. I work with my sisters. They moved here about 3 years ago and really helped me grow Marknology. No one goes to school for this stuff. So it was sit down with me, learn it, be able to help me manage and take client calls and things like that. And it's been really awesome to grow. We've worked with over 300 brands since we started. We have about 50 that we work with on a monthly basis. Everything from $100 million brands to brands just getting started with a couple of products and a big heart and a lot of passion. We're having a lot of fun. So I'll stop it there. There's a lot of other things I do, like real estate. I'm just acquired my second e-commerce brand. I'm super pumped. I'm like buying brands and trying to fix them up. So it's making me a bit of an investor instead of just on the agency side. I'm having a lot of fun, guys. Like it's year 7. I think everybody has their own path. And I don't feel like my business is almost 7. I really feel like it's like 3 or 4, I guess. There's a lot of freelancing years in the early days that it wasn't really growing and scaling. But it's finally to that point where I'm trying to develop, internal systems and dashboards and really having a lot of fun, growing the agency.
That's some good stuff, man. There's a lot of things I want to get to in that story.
Yeah. Just background, for Dustin to just like, how's the process been? It's I skipped so much entrepreneurial lessons and all of that, but it really just started from a side hustle. And now we're really trying to get legitimate and scale and build the team. And we just had 2 team members. One moved here from Colorado, and one just finished at Oklahoma State. So that it's not, we're small, but like bringing people to move here to work for you is like a crazy feeling to me. That they want to be part of something we're doing.
It's amazing. I love hearing the passion and talking about hustle. I mean, that's what all of us do. I mean, if you're starting out to be an Amazon seller, you better have that hustle.
Yeah.
Go, because you're going to have to learn a million things on that journey, and you're going to make mistakes. And just I love how you're talking about them and how all those things just led you to where you are now.
Yeah, I think that's how me and Chris actually connected, even maybe before he was with Solozo. We went to the same high school back in the day, up north in Liberty. A little bit different circles, but it's funny how world and life brings you back together, and people find passions that they can connect with. And for me, e-commerce, like I've always been an artist. I've always been like a creative, whether it's music or just imagination type person, and business wasn't a fit for me, like corporate environments, but e-commerce is that perfect blend of, you get to be creative, you need to be outside the box, but it's still data driven, and it's still, so it's this perfect mixture of art and science. And I don't know, I just wish for everybody they find that thing that makes them as excited about it as I am, because it makes going to work pretty easy.
And you mentioned like they don't teach this stuff anymore, or they don't teach it at all. Like I can speak for myself, you guys can jump in, but they don't teach e-com, or they didn't in my day when they high school. They don't teach how to sell things on Amazon. Like if this was something, because I was flipping Beanie Babies back on eBay, back in the day, and flipping sports cards on eBay and doing garage sales. If they had like a course or about like Amazon, or not Amazon, but the e-commerce and how it was up and coming, I mean, that maybe been a whole new chapter for me, but
yeah,
you didn't have that.
I actually have a big passion. I come from a missionary family. I grew up in Africa until I was 16. And for anyone listening, not South Africa, Cameroon, Botswana, Congo, like in the thick.
Wow.
And, it gave me an imagination because I played outside all the time. Like there's no electricity, there's no Walmarts and Targets. You're playing outside, I did have computers, so I was hacking the satellite in Congo. I'll be honest, I was hacking the satellite feed to get internet when I was like 12 years old. But, growing up like that has allowed me to think outside the box of what everybody else is thinking about and doing, at least like when you first come across, like when I was first coming into e-commerce, there was so much feedback and pushback against Amazon because people didn't understand Amazon. Now there's so much content going out there, a lot more people fear it less. But, 8-9 years ago, it was like, you're bringing up COVID. Like basically it's like people think of it like a disease. I don't want my business going into e-commerce. We're not going to know how to do that. And, 9 years later, 2020, we're the lifeline, knowing how to do e-commerce for companies is their lifeline. Being able to save companies this year, help them pivot, like the ones we already had set up maybe from 2019 was awesome to watch them explode instead of close, and that's like very rewarding, space to be in. But with e-commerce, that's why honestly I mentor at UMKC. I'm involved in Missouri State University in the design thinking program as a board advisor and helping them with that curriculum this year, because there is no schooling for this yet. It's people like me putting out, and people that even have less experience putting out courses on this stuff, because there's just nothing out there for the DIYers. And that's why I'm at UMKC speaking to those kids. They might not be getting an e-commerce course, but when they have their ideas in the entrepreneurial program or whatever, I'm like, hey guys, like, think about it like this, think about it like this, think about it like this. There's different ways to do things. And, the e-commerce model can be really lean, as far as other businesses go, like launching other businesses. Because just like you, Chris, I was the guy mowing lawns, flipping stuff. I've always been that hustler. But if you like that kind of stuff, you should really look to e-commerce. It's got that kind of action to it.
And I don't know how to describe it, but it's like a high or something. I don't know.
It's almost like I can understand why people get into gambling. I'm not but you have control over it. It's like gambling but with control over the outcome. That high I would get when I would put a new car product up like a bushwhacker fender for a truck or something, because we were putting bushwhacker up, we were putting like weather tech, we were putting like all these kinds of things up, Anderson hitches for the very first time. Like, you know, I was literally putting some of this, I was in Mopar taking photos of their parts in their aisles. We had worked out an agreement. I was like in Jeep going aisle by aisle taking pictures of all these parts, because parts didn't exist. But if I got them up, we were selling them, and you'd put it up, you'd hear that cha-ching or whatever, you look the next day and see how many orders you have, and it was just like, oh my God, I have to put more product up. Like,
and now eBay has eBay Motors, right? Like, that's probably the biggest thing they sell on eBay now.
Yeah, eBay had stuff, but it was like, you know, I was doing the kind of stuff like in the hitch business. That's where I kind of started, trailer hitches. You know, it was like Kurt Hitches and Sequent. Sequent is a company that owns like 8 of them. So it's really 2 manufacturers making all the hitches that we know. Anderson is a couple of small ones. But my idea on it, the reason we grew was I started using I don't even know how to use Photoshop or Paint, but I was like using Paint and putting in like the hitch and then like the trailer light and then the ball, or like the things that they needed. And I was doing the mental work for the customers. Instead of making them like pick all 5 parts, I was making a ton of money on the shipping by combining them, and then putting that in a package. Now, if you messed up, you got a lot of returns on your hand, right? If you're the one like looking up what trailer wiring goes with this like Toyota Sienna 2008 or whatever. But if I was willing to do that work and combo it up and take photos and get it up, we were getting crazy sales.
You were bundling before it was cool.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, ego aside, I swear to God, guys, I feel like I've been trailblazing in my own way. It just comes natural to me as far as like, oh, what's another way to do this? Like, you know, I think that's almost like African ingenuity. I'll claim it. Like those guys, like growing up, they would take like a AC adapter that's plugged into the wall that's like got a short in it. They would cut it all up, rewire it, you know, and you got another AC adapter. You know, my dad was like, one time we were taking this trip across in Cameroon, our Jeep breaks down. It's super dangerous to be out in the like jungle at night for a million reasons, and he couldn't have us stuck out there, so he cut up a tire into strips and used that as a belt to limp us home and to get us to the next village. And I can't claim that idea, but it was just like growing up in that type of environment where you can't just go to O'Reilly's or wherever to replace something, and you have to actually like think of a way outside the box to get stuff done, is invaluable. And you know, it's invaluable.
Wow. I can just picture like a guy creeping up a tire
with 2 young kids in the back of this Jeep, just like, you know, on this dirt road, and just like, what are we going to do? And it gets dark out there, you know, it gets real dark, and
yeah, there are no street lights.
You'd be surprised what you do when you got to do it, you know, and you got kids online or whatever. But it's that mentality. You know, I've taken it to e-commerce. You know, Amazon specifically is what my bread and butter, and what I've really like, you know, I guess, got known for, you know, building an Amazon agency. I saw that was the loophole. Everybody knows how to do Facebook or Instagram or these things, you know, and it was like, okay, I can come into this space and try to be good, or I can go into this new space that no one's really in, and figure it out. And that's what I did.
So let's talk about Marknology. Go ahead, Dustin.
Oh no, I was just going to ask real quick before you jumped in. What year did you get started working on Amazon? Around what time?
So I would say that first year with the car parts was mostly eBay, but they did have me putting the parts on Amazon. It was just like you didn't have to have UPCs for eBay, right? And if I'm creating combos and things like that, it's not really a UPC type of situation. Right. And that's where we were really getting our value, was doing the mental work for the customers, and bringing them parts. Another thing was, this is just tip of the day, but the reason that we were able to compete with some of these big players in the hitch world and the trailer lights and things like that was, my boss at the time was pretty savvy, and he's now in prison, I think, by the way. He was just doing some other savvy things too, I guess, but I didn't know that at the time. But he was a shrewd negotiator, and he was pitting FedEx and UPS against each other back then. And I really learned a lot through that. He was pitting them against each other, and he essentially got FedEx to give us like oversized rates that were just killer, like, for hitches and things like that, because of the volume we were doing. And so we were able to get $30-$40 cheaper in shipping, which allowed us to essentially charge a lot less for our products because we were making that up in the shipping, and no one could really compete with our shipping rates. So that was the ticket right there. But to answer the Amazon stuff, like, it's been about 9 years. It was 2012.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because that's Chris and I got involved about the same time each. And it was more like 2014 time, but it's wildly different now.
I think there's a lot of different paths that people have gone, and there's some local guys here that have even exited businesses, for double digits in the millions. Like Alex, love the guy. Multiple people like that. There's a lot of people that like had the same passion as me, that maybe they had a better day job at the time, I'm not sure, but they had capital and they started creating products and going all in on that. And so some people have done it for themselves and exited or are still doing it. Very rarely were people, and mine came down to money. Honestly, I was like, what can I do that doesn't cost me anything that I can do for other people and make money? And that's where the service side came in. I will say that, 9 years later, I regret nothing, even though I wouldn't have minded building a couple of businesses for myself and exiting them. I'm doing it now, but I've been able to learn along the way, I think at a level that most people wouldn't. Being involved in this strategy on probably all 300 brands that have come through Marknology, and being able to see how this brand approaches this and how this brand approaches this, and what did I try here, and why did I lose these clients here, and why did this work this time and why did it not, just a whole bunch of A/B testing essentially. Most people think about one business, grow that business, and obsess about everything about like plumbing tools or something, whatever they're on, and it's an obsession, and there's value in that. My approach has been more so, what do all these brands have in common, or what makes them different, and really be able to conceptualize what makes brands tick on Amazon.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. UPS guy just showed up, so here we go.
Dogs are gonna be barking.
Yeah, they're going to be going wild here in a second. But I want to talk about Marknology because that's something you obviously created. That's the Amazon space. You got brands you're working with. Even 4 or 5 years ago, brands were a little hesitant on this, and they didn't really know. I'm just going to throw a product up and we're going to call it a day. Now there's ads they got to run on their brand name, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. EBCs and videos and images, titles, all that stuff. So that's kind of where you guys come in.
Correct.
What is Marknology? What are you guys doing? Like, if I'm a brand, how's the process go? If like onboarding, if I need some help.
So first, we're going to have a conversation just like this. Really, I'm going to say, hey, tell me your story. Tell me what's been going on. Tell me what's been working, what's not working. What's your goals? Where you're trying to go with it? Give me some context. What's been going on. So it's kind of like this audit process, and then I'm going to dig in and kind of get my hands dirty and do an audit of the account. There's like, obviously different angles that different sellers are coming from. Some have been on Vendor Central. Some haven't been launched at all. Some have just plateaued. Some have grown it well themselves, but don't want to manage it anymore. There's a lot of different reasons. Some brands will just never bring it in-house. Some people always want to outsource it. So one, where am I coming from with that brand? And then we kind of do that audit. And then from the audit, once we engage with them, we kind of identify the priorities. So maybe the priority for them is their advertising has been horrible and they want us to clean it up, or maybe, the very first thing before we can sell anything is getting the products listed, or maybe it's just that the photography is awful. So I've built my team to basically fill those areas. Okay. Whether it's photography, I hated my brands going out and getting bad photography. I finally convinced them to go get photography. They pay a couple grand to get it, and then they get crap. I was like, I got to stop that from happening. Or I got to be able to like get some better deals for these brands that I really want to win. And so I brought photography in-house. Content writing. We have account managers here that help them, get on the weekly calls and say, hey, this is priority 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, this is how we're going. Brand protection. We have brand protection in-house. So giving them advice on brand registry and, resellers, map pricing, all those kinds of things. We have advertising in-house, warehousing. Actually, now we do warehousing. We have about 9 brands with us, helping them kit, make packs, inserts, things like that. So a little bit of everything, but I've also been building Marknology, not just to help brands in every single area that they're going to need on Amazon. As we we're obviously going to hit priority 1 and 2 and what's important next. But I want to acquire brands or build them myself, and be able to do everything that I need to make them rock stars on Amazon. So I've been building my team accordingly, for that. And another thing to the entrepreneurs out there, whether it's Amazon or not, I don't love doing all of that, right? I like strategizing. I still like doing the advertising. I like fixing hard problems. I don't love researching content. I don't love, taking photos, or those different things. So it was important to build a team here at Marknology that, one, like each other and can collaborate and really build something awesome. But also finding better people that are more skilled at the things that I'm not great at.
Let me just jump in here, Chris, because you said something that's really important. I feel like to entrepreneurs, what you're talking about, you don't like every aspect of the process, and that's true, and it is important. That's a mistake I've made in mine early on. Is I would ignore the things I didn't like to do, and focus. Like I loved researching products. I loved creating cool listings, but I didn't like a lot of the other stuff. I mean, I liked the concept of advertising, but I hated pulling search term reports and going through all of that and making the bid adjustments to that. So things got left to the side. And what you bring up, having a team or having experts manage that for you can be invaluable.
Agreed. And it allows you to focus on, we all do better work when we're doing what we love. End of the day, or at least what we enjoy. Even if it's not love, do you enjoy it, right? And we're all going to do better work. So it's like, hey, let's get photographers doing the photography, and let's get designers doing the graphic design, and let's get researchers that like doing that, and let's get the people that like being on the calls. And that's what my job now is at the top, is getting people in the right position on the right teams and picking the right brands to work with. Like I am, the thing I'm most proud of, I think the most excited about is, I don't have any clients I don't like working with anymore. I'll be honest with you. I've either fired them or they've gone on their way. I think as our content has gotten stronger as a team, like Marknology's putting out content and branding and materials and reputation, we're attracting the brands that want to storytell. They want to invest in photography. Because that's what we put out. Right. That's, that's the marketing material we're putting out. So we're attracting those brands that believe in that kind of stuff. That's why they're here. It's just making it more fun all around, versus working with brands that are resistant to change because I've convinced them that they need to be on Amazon, but we're not able to really do what we need to do to win. I just had a conversation right before I came in here. I brought my 2 teams together, the social team and the advertising team, actually the whole company, but it was for those 2 teams. And we wanted to talk about the custom creative and sponsored brand ads. Right. And so that's 2 teams for me. I have my content team that does like all of our social media and everything. And then I have my advertising team. And I think that, I only have 13 people. It's not that big, but you can compartmentalize pretty easily. And you're like, that's not my job. That's not my job. But that's not how Amazon works. Amazon is a flywheel. We know that, right? It's all working together. And so I said, hey guys, like this is one of those areas I want to call this meeting as a good point of reference of how we need to work together. Because up to this point, before you're doing custom creative on sponsored brands, the advertising team doesn't really need the creative team. Right. It's like, send me a logo maybe. And we just, it's data guys setting stuff up. But I think that Amazon ads are going to get more and more like Facebook and Instagram ads and, more of those audience insights and lifestyle imagery type things. And so I don't want to be behind. And I'm like, hey guys, this is going to be one of those areas where we really need to start collaborating and have the creative team up to speed on the ads and things like that. So, I think that's just, the importance of Amazon and what people don't really understand on the outside that haven't been involved in this space is you can't ignore the things you don't want to touch just because you don't want to touch them.
And your intuition's been good for you so far. So I think you're right as far as that ads go, because you're starting to see it. I mean, in our own businesses, Dustin and I, they're asking for creative, and you can you can have a different image for a certain keyword, and you can have another different image for another keyword, and it's a completely different message.
Right.
I think you're onto something here with that.
No, I think I just want to, we have hung our hat on being like, we're one of the, at least this is what I've told, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I was told of the 60 agencies in the pilot program brought in 2020 for advertising. I think there were 60 agencies that made the partnership. Marknology is one of 2 of the 60 that's a service-based company that made the advertising agency partnership, meaning the other 58 are software companies, right? Like Solozo. So one of 2 out of 60 that still have humans doing the work. And we use software, don't get me wrong, but a service-based agency. And what's super important and what's always been important for Marknology is speed on the new releases, speed on what's up and coming. Be a first mover. Don't be perfect. Be a first mover. Figure it out. And I'm lucky enough to have brands that have been with me 4, 5, 6, 7 years. My company is 6.5, and I have brands for 7 years. Some of them that have allowed me to grow together with them, where we're testing the new stuff out. And this is no different. I was preaching video ads before video ads dropped, and I know you guys know how well those do, like click rates of 2, 3, 4 plus, compared to stuff that's like 0.33. Huge wins for brands by having videos ready to go, and being able to move on those and take advantage of the ROI wins. And I'm getting a little nerdy, but being able to move quick on that video stuff was huge for a lot of the brands that were, in the Marknology family, kind of getting that first look. And I think the next thing will be more of these like social type ads, mirroring Amazon Live with like sponsored displays, ability to break out the categories and ages and things like that. And I want to be ready.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point, because if being an early adopter of stuff has huge benefits. I mean, sponsored brand video right now is there still, it's not as packed and competitive as space as it could be. And that's why you have such big wins. And if you can adapt early to these new releases that Amazon rolls out, like Amazon Live, like you talked about right now, it's a much less crowded space.
Exactly.
And your ability to shine there.
You're winning easier. It's the same thing as being on Amazon 9 years ago. And this is how I think about international expansion. I have one brand that's in 12 countries, 12 marketplaces. We were brought into Amazon's HQ for their international board meeting of 8 CEOs. I was brought in as like the one working with the CEO with this brand, but they brought in our brand. And we got to talk to them about international expansion, because Marknology has a client that's in 12 marketplaces, and that's crazy on Amazon standards. And they're like, what's going on? How do you like it? What's going on? What have you struggled with? To me, the international expansion piece is like getting on Amazon 15 years ago. Why wouldn't you want to be first? Especially if you know everything, how it works. So I'm really pushing into international expansion, and figuring out, how to really do that at a high level, because I think it's like getting there first. You get first pick, you get first pick. It's getting first pick in a pickup softball game. You want that shortstop, and at least I do. I want the shortstop for all the guys that can't hit. And I don't know. It's been a tactic for me. I know everyone has different tactics. Some people like to be Apple. Amazon is not Apple, and I'm building a business around Amazon. They move fast. They figure it out later. They perfect it as you go. That's more my method than being perfect before launching. And maybe Apple's a bad example, but I think of them as like being behind Samsung and the other Android phones that come out with better cameras first, and they come out with all this stuff first, and then Apple comes out with kind of the better product a little bit later. And it is what it is. Sponsored display, I used to hate it. I used to hate sponsor because the ROI was horrible. There was no control. You couldn't segment down. It was just like, is it on or off? But I tested it, and you could consider that failing. Maybe we lost some money. We tried things, but I'm coming back around now, and it's a great opportunity. And if I hadn't done it at first, I wouldn't know that now it's a good one to move on.
So that's fascinating. Yeah, I love it. I love what you're talking about. Just that, and that's what feeds the entrepreneur spirit, is just being able to move fast, make adjustments. And I think this touches on what you were talking about earlier, there's a lot of big brands out there, a surprising amount of big brands that aren't controlling their Amazon space. And it's mind-boggling. They're just in a very old business model. And we'll talk to people all the time, and they're arguing. They're like, why would I want to be on Amazon? They charge so much. They take so much of my rent. Like, well, if you'd made a little bit less, but you sold 50 times more, isn't that better?
They don't understand. They don't like, and that's why I put out so much content. If you follow my YouTube or Instagram or, different things, I've been trying to put out as much as I can while I'm busy as hell, because I just feel like there's a lot of bad information and it's catching up, right? Because, Thras.io IPOing has brought a ton of attention to the space. There's so much money getting poured into Amazon agencies and things like that right now. And there's a lot more than every year, it's getting better. And now there's Amazon conferences and stuff, but it used to just be us freelancers on Elance. Like there was no job postings. There was no Solozos. Honestly, there was nothing. And you guys know, if you've been into it since 2014, there was nothing out there. And it's catching up, but there's a lot of misinformation, and it's like, if I get past that e-commerce manager and I get the chance to talk to the owner a lot of times, and we get to talk the finances, and really explain the differences in the models and how these things work. And a lot of times they're not thinking about, when it comes to FBA, for example, like this is your labor too. Are you building your labor into these costs? Because this is pick, pack, shipped, everything. Like, what's your warehousing costing you? What's that time costing you if you're doing it yourself as a small owner? That's how you get true ROI, is being able to track all those things. Or these older businesses, like we've got some big businesses. Faultless Starch is one local here to KC that's kind of a success story. We've been with them for several years, and we took them from just a B2B on the shelf model, with aerosols and all types of stuff like that, to we're going to do, we've already hit $1 million this year. It's our first $1 million year on Amazon with Faultless, but we had to completely restructure the way they did warehousing, the way they've prep products into kits and different things like that. We had to do a lot of work. But 3 years later, I think they're going to be a healthy company long into the future, because they've made that investment into e-commerce from the top down. I remember sitting in a boardroom and telling them their shit sucked. Pardon my French. I did. I swear, and they quote me on that all the time. But I needed to let them know it was not about sugarcoating it. It was like, man, we have a lot of work to do. I need buy-in from the top down. And we got it. We got that buy-in, and we just hit our $1 million year. And we're just getting started, in my opinion, and it's like, but getting out of that old model, it's just really hard for the bigger the companies, because these companies have never had the B2C interaction with their customers. It's been, I'm selling to Nordstrom, I'm selling to Target, I'm selling to Amazon Vendor Central. I'm, doing these things where you're just sending pallets. You don't have to learn how to sell. You just have to learn how to manufacture and make products. And everybody else, like the Foot Lockers of the world, sell the Adidas product, right? So they're having to learn something as big as they are that they've never learned before. And I think that it's just a bigger challenge than people think about. And, it's really hard to turn the big ship. So I've worked with the big brands. I really like the kind of 20 million and under brands. They're a lot more nimble and, seem to be e-commerce or digital forward. And I think that's why the big brands on Amazon are so slow, to really make changes. They don't need it. So because they hasn't been an immediate need, they're ignoring it.
And one thing,
go ahead. Well, I just want to talk a little bit about last year, during this whole pandemic and stuff, brands had to shift. They had stores were closing down, people were putting back orders, they canceling orders, no POs were coming in. They had e-commerce was their thing. What were you seeing on your end as an agency?
Well, it was stressful. I'll be honest. My family works with me. Like, my mom, my sisters, we're a family business, and I know we're unique than a lot of people, but I grew up in Africa, like a tight unit, so we're better together. Honestly, we're just a unit that looks out for each other. And, those thoughts were crossing my mind on my own. Even though e-commerce is going to be the future, I'm like, well, what if the brands I have now don't pay? What if they all just freeze? What, Like, am I going to let people go? What's going to happen? I know a lot of people, and I'm so blessed to be in this space and on the other side. But I didn't know what was going to happen. And I had brands turning down my proposals. I didn't have leads coming in. They're like, we're just going to wait and see what happens. But come like August, September, we really saw a huge uptick, like toward the second half of the year after summer, probably the PPPs and different things. Some people had let go of almost everyone and hired us. Like, it was moves like that was just like, hey, we're putting all our eggs in the Marknology basket. And, I also felt like a surgeon in the ER room in a way, in regards to strategy. Is like, my job is really important for these people right now. I didn't take it lightly. And, I was giving as much free advice as I could when all that stuff started hitting, giving people pointers, even if they're doing it themselves, like, go here, talk to this person, like, really kind of treating it like a triage center. Our food brands that we have here in the warehouse, and like, they exploded. But, all the issues that came up was not just, are we selling stuff? We had logistical issues. We had FBA issues. Imagine getting that email when you got 50 brands you're managing, and you see the email that's like, anything that's not essential is not going to be able to send it, and I'm like, why didn't you listen to me when I said back up your stuff at PM? Like, but we were able to help some people with the warehouses. I mean, it's been a crazy year, man. And I had some lofty goals for 2020 after 2019 as far as growth goals. I didn't quite hit those, but we still grew. And I know a lot of people didn't, and so I'm just so thankful, man, to be in e-commerce at the, I think we have a long way to go, but I don't know. It's peaking, it's going to keep going. And being Marknology, where we're in a position to help brands, just really fits who I am as a person. So I'm loving it, honestly.
And we could go every direction right now. Like, I could talk about Walmart, I could talk about Shopify.
Right.
We could keep going.
That's the future with Marknology too. We'll just take that as a little segment. Like, my passion now is how to connect it all, right? How does e-commerce, social, and Amazon all connect? And that is a true healthy ecosystem for a brand. It's not about seeing them in silos. I mean, we got our expertise in Amazon, but I quickly learned that the companies that were doing Shopify and Facebook well and those things weren't thinking about Amazon. They didn't care. It wasn't on their radar. It's more like, Amazon does Amazon, we do us. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not how it works. You run a Facebook ad, you're getting some sales on Amazon. You build a brand on Amazon, the website starts growing. But how can we use inserts or follow-up emails or email lists or chat bots on Facebook? Or how can we make our packaging that we're now selling on Amazon be more well-rounded to engage with customers on social media? Because we're getting a lot of sales on Amazon. It'd be really nice to be engaging with those customers, or people will spend thousands of dollars on influencers or Instagram ads or things like that to grow social media. And I'm like, we're not even doing the smallest things on Amazon to get these customers, over there. And so my passion really, in the future is now and in the future is how to connect all these things. I'm doing a case study with Amazon Attribution right now that I'm pretty excited about through our agency partnership, and just like walking a brand through Q4 and like, what did we notice, and all those kinds of things. So it's kind of cool to be involved in pulling this all in together.
Man, I know we've took over your time. I know we're over your time. I want to respect that. Is there anything else that you want to just let out there, let people know?
We might need a part 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, I guess I had a lot to say, but you get me on a Friday. So
it's all great.
No, you're never going to be an expert at something until you have a starting point, and it's amateur to expert, and for the brands like looking to get started on Amazon, partner first until you get some expertise, and then you can take it in-house if that's your end goal. Like, don't just bring it in-house and put your IT guy on it. This is e-commerce now. Amazon is e-commerce as well as Shopify or anything else. Think holistically, think long-term, think about doing it right. It's not just that you can just put stuff up anymore and win because you're an early mover. You got to do stuff right now. And I just encourage brands, like, it's never too late. We're launching brands all the time and having crazy success. with those products and those brands, it's not too late to get on Amazon or Shopify even. Like, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of both. So, yeah, you never know. Just take that leap, take that step. And if you're already in e-commerce, check Solozo out. These guys are great. I'll give them my own, compliment here. I know that they're really good guys. And even Doug, that's moved on to a different company, I think, within the Solozo family. He was the first one that introduced me to you guys. Like, great guy. So I really like what you guys are doing in Kansas City. It's cool. I thought I was the only Amazon company for a long time in Kansas City that wasn't a private seller. So it's cool. And I appreciate you guys for having me on the show.
Sure. And real quick before we go, how do people, if someone wants to start partnership with you, how do they contact you? What do they do to get in touch?
Yeah. Well, if you just want to be friends, like, hit me up on social. I'm on it all the time. Like, I honestly love meeting any entrepreneur. We're in a pandemic and not everybody gets to just be out meeting new people. So like, I really do, use social media as a way to interact with people. But I have my own podcast, Startup Hustle. Marknology.com, we're on LinkedIn, we're everywhere. So if you type in Marknology, I invented the word, no one else is going to come up. So you'll find us there. We'd love to connect.
We need to get you on Clubhouse.
Hey, I just got on. I actually need someone to give me a little lesson.
Dude.
Yeah, I just got in, so I've got the invite. I'm in the secret club, so to speak. We probably need to have a room in there and just chat it up.
No kidding. It's addicting.
I'm looking you up right now on here because this app is amazing.
I haven't been able to give it enough time. I'll be honest, guys. I'm about to launch Startup Hustle TV. I'll give it a shameless plug right now. We're about to launch with that, which is with the host of the podcast. We're doing TV starting February 1st. Just behind the scenes looks at like my day, all the other hosts on the show. We're going to be bringing some great content. And for me, that's a whole new arena, doing video and daily updates and behind the scenes stuff. So I'm on Clubhouse. I need like a Cliff Notes version of how to get up to speed.
Yeah. So step one, you got to update your bio.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right here. No, I'm following you now. So we're good to go. But we'll get on there. We'll start a room. We'll have a conversation. It'll be a blast.
Invite me in. I'll jump on even if I'm at the gym. I'll just be like, what's up? That's how we do it these days.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. And man, it's great talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
Perfect. See ya.